Retro Bowl and Retro Bowl College finally have been updated after a long hiatus from New Star Games. Now, is this update good? Is it bad? Is it mediocre? We're going to be getting into that in this video. So if you enjoy these types of videos, be sure to leave a like. Let's get started. So we're going to start with the regular Retro Bowl first, just because it is a much shorter sample size than the Retro Bowl College update. And then we're going to be talking about what these updates look like in game. And then we're also going to be giving some suggestions later on for what this game should add, should continue to add in order to make me come back to it and a lot of the player base come back to it. Because I think a lot of you guys share the same sentiment as me, as this game is fun, maybe not anymore just because it's very tedious, and not because the gameplay itself is tedious. If you've played it enough, like I have and a lot of others have, it's very one note. Now, there's a couple things that I would add that, again, we'll talk about later in the video that I think would be awesome, that are not unrealistic. I'm not talking about fucking QB mode. I'm not talking about anything crazy. Some simple stuff that could be added that would make the game a lot better, that is already using assets that this game has, whether it be Retro Bowl to Retro Bowl College or vice versa. So let's go ahead and get into the update notes overall for the 1.6.5 update for regular Retro Bowl. Starting off with the gameplay, it says the opposition's defensive star players are now labeled and have unique attributes when playing against them in a roster-enabled team and exhibition mode. That sounds like a lot, but it's pretty simple. So basically, when you're doing exhibition mode, which I thought that update, I thought that addition to the game as a whole was pretty underwhelming, and I didn't think it was really necessary. I do like the idea that you could play with somebody next to you and you could say, okay, let me try on offense. Okay, now it's your turn. Who can score the most points against the computer wins. That's cool. I don't see myself ever playing an exhibition mode against a computer, because if that was the case, I would just play a franchise. Like, why would I not want these, stats and everything to accumulate over the season, especially in regular Retro Bowl, because you can simulate. So if you really only want to play one game, you could simulate 16 games and play the 17th. But regardless of the fact, basically, if you have multiple saves, for instance, if you have one save for where you're the Browns and you have another save where you're the Bears, you could play against the computer, and now when you're on defense, you can see the initials for the players you're playing against. They have a little star above them. So for instance, if I am the Browns and I'm playing against a Bears team that has a lot of linebackers, a lot of DBs, all of those players are going to have it says, unique attributes. I don't really know if that can be replicated in this game. I don't really know if maybe the cornerbacks stick to your receiver better. But regardless of the fact, it's pretty minute, honestly. I've only tested out a little bit. I've only played like 2 games with it. But I don't really realize a huge difference in, someone's coverage being super sticky if they have really high attributes. But it says it's there. So I guess you could give them some credit for that. And then there's some bug fixes, as well as updating the winners list for the Retro Bowl, adding in the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, that's not super relevant. I'm not going to sit here and try to be negative throughout this, because my channel has been created from Retro Bowl and posting Retro Bowl content. I want this game to do well. If this is what they're giving us after however long it's been, whatever. Bug fixes, sacks counting as incompletions, they fixed that, and interceptions not counting in the end zone, they fixed that for actually both games. I want to say that must have just been like an actual coding thing for both games. So that's really it. They added the ability to see defensive star players for other teams you're playing against in the exhibition mode. That's going to be it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Not really, but that's literally it. So moving on to Retro Bowl College update, the 0.9.5 update. Let's go ahead and look at the balancing first. So changes in player interest in the admissions draft. Best players are going to be attracted to higher ranking schools. The weaker players are attracted to medium ranking schools. This makes a lot of sense. Obviously, your 4 and 5 star players are not going to want to go to your Mississippi Valley State. That makes sense to me. I actually did mention this in my previous update suggestions video, just to make the recruiting seem more realistic. And as you develop a program, you're going to have more players wanting to come to your school that are more highly touted. New positive study news stories possible for players with high GPA. So now we're going to get rewarded for players having high GPA. Maybe that's going to boost their morale. Like, maybe they make the dean's list and they get all excited. And then it says a small chance of positive news stories for any player, even with low GPA or morale. Basically, they just added this positive news story. I don't know what this looks like in the actual dilemmas, but that's cool. More dilemmas is always a good thing. I've always talked about how dilemmas are the backbone and just the catalyst. They tell the story of what your season is. And, when you have stuff in my Houston rebuild way back in the day a couple years ago, where a guy's, caught with a cheerleader and then he's posting derogatory comments on social media, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? This guy's an absolute shitter. That's fun. I like that. So more storylines. That's good. Also gonna, most of the time it says positively impact your team with high GPA. And then it says a tiny increase to weekly GPA reduction. So that is negative, a increase in reduction. I feel like GPA is already kind of, they've tuned it before. It's going to be more impactful for your team, so you might have more players getting benched. Is that a good thing? It's fine. I mean, I think that there should be more risk and reward. College is like that. The pros are not. So getting into the gameplay and visuals, I do like this quite a bit. They've actually extended the hash marks out wider for college. I'll put an overlay for the professional, regular Retro Bowl, what the field looks like, and then what the new college one looks like. I do like this. You actually can be further out and you can work with that wide side of the field a lot more on some out routes, you know, different routes that will kind of cook a little bit more, and then it gives you more time to swipe over and make jukes. But I have noticed it's kind of weird, some of the tight end routes that are stuck to the line of scrimmage, that are kind of bunched up with the offensive line, they will like run into the line. So if your tight end is here and your offensive line is here, the routes usually would kind of go out and up. Sometimes they go into the line. It's kind of funky. I don't really know why that's the case. I don't really think moving the position of the line would change that. But I have noticed in one play, like I played one game, and I had my offensive line getting ran into quite a bit by the tight end. Overall, I like it. It's good. Is it where they need to put their allocated resources and time assets? No, but is it fine? Yeah, I like it more than adding what regular Retro Bowl did and just making your players that you're playing against have a star above them. If they could add that to regular Retro Bowl franchise mode, you know, when you're playing different games, and make the team actually have fake rosters, you can auto-generate rosters. Auto-generate them every single year for the entire teams, so it feels like the league actually has a pulse. You know, make it feel like the league is actually real and has a bunch of real fake players. We already talked about the bug fixes. They fixed other things on the field. Very vague. I don't really know what that means, but they said they did. And then the spike celebration now has consequences. Basically, it's not a flag live in the game. All it is something, some sort of, you know, dilemma after the game saying got an excessive celebration call, and then his morale or whatever will be adjusted accordingly however you choose. So is that cool? Yeah, I like that. That's pretty nice. And then in the menus, pre-game screens now show the game's names during the postseason. Instead of it saying postseason 3, 4, 5, it's going to say, you know, FBS championship. That's good. I don't really know why it ever said all those things. It should have just said the bowl name accordingly. Season review now shows the scholarship fund entering the pro draft. They're just going to let you see where your money's sitting before the draft actually happens. So I think that would tell you whether you should decide to let your players declare or not. I think that's good. You should know that ahead of time before you let somebody go. Even if you want them to flourish as a junior, you can at least prepare for that and say, hey, actually stay back. We're going to end up maxing out our funds, so you leaving is not going to help us. That's a good thing. Entries for the postseason schedule, which happen after December, you know, into the postseason, are going to be stamped for the next year. And also players' vitae, which happens after December, are now stamped for the next year. That's everything. That is, we have been waiting for, I don't even know how long. I will look for the sake of this video. I mean, I'm sitting here making this video, so I might as well. We can see when Retro Bowl and Retro Bowl College had their most previous update. There was a layout adjustment 4 months ago. Interrupting sim feature was added. That's something that I don't even know if I ever talked about. I think I did in one of my like rants on my last Vanderbilt video. That's cool, but it's not really much. And then you get to 11 months ago. So we are probably gearing up for some sort of big update for regular Retro Bowl. Uniforms, team strength, that kind of stuff that they usually do every single year. We'll look at Retro Bowl College. So their most previous update 3 months ago. Fixed older version, so that's nothing. Again, 4 months ago, introduced a way to continue playing on career mode. There is nothing there. 5 months ago, there was balancing for the GPAs, bug fixes and balances. 7 months ago, there's more fixes. I don't really think there's ever been any true addition to the game since it's come out in 9 months ago, basically. Now, let's give an overall grade before we get into some suggestions for what Retro Bowl and Retro Bowl College could do. Overall, for the regular Retro Bowl update, I am going to give it, out of 10, a 3. No, a 2. We're going to give it a 2 out of 10. That is right. Is it something? Yes. Does it make me believe that this game and New Star Games knows that they have a game that they should take care of? Yes. Is that almost worse in the fact that they realize and remember that they have a game and then this is what they roll out as an update? Yes. That almost makes it worse. Now, hopefully, I'm hoping and praying. Again, I want this game to do well. I want this game to flourish. So hopefully they add a huge update before the regular season starts. Again, they usually do that, but it better not just be adjusting team strengths. It better be like something serious. I got some suggestions before we get into the Retro Bowl College update grade. Give us the ability to adjust individual players' sleeves, gloves, shoe color. It's very simple. All you're doing is giving us the little guy that you see before you start every single game. Let me adjust the pixel color, black, white, team color of this, the arm, the glove, the foot. Maybe add a visor, you know? I don't really know. Something like that. Is it simple? Yes. All you're doing is really changing the color of the pixels that are already existing. And when you're in the game, their arm is like a 1x1 pixel. So all you'd be doing is changing. It's very simple. Is that a lot? No, not really, but I would like that just for some customization. Boom, you can say improve customization. While you're at it, take all 4 of the new pages from the faces in College Retro Bowl and add them to regular Retro Bowl. You already have the faces. It doesn't change anything besides literally selecting. Take it from College Retro Bowl, move it over. Just take it and put it somewhere else. That's 2 things that should be not difficult at all. Should be so simple. And then as far as the actual content of Retro Bowl, have 5 people sit down in a room for 2 hours and come up with 100 more dilemmas. If you sat around and just said, what do we have? What could we add on? Improve the dilemma library. That would be great. You have the interrupt sim feature. That's all well and good. I think everything else besides adding like gameplay features, but you probably have to get into like way more of the, you know, behind the scenes coding side. This is very simple. Just make a couple different cosmetic adjustments. You could improve more. I've got videos. I'll link them in the description to what this game could add. But that's really it. Now, getting over to the Mac Daddy, the real pièce de résistance. Right now, College Retro Bowl, obviously they're not competing with NCAA 2025, but they need to realize that with all of the hype around that game after 10 years, maybe you shell out a huge update. What are we going to start with? Number 1, add simulation to College Retro Bowl. You already have it in your base game. It should not be hard. Why is this important? Because in order to progress season over season in College Retro Bowl, I need to play every game. And in order for that not to take 2 hours, I have to play on 1-minute quarters, and then the stats are completely skewed. It's not fun. Let us simulate the game. I do not know why that's so hard. And then I can rebuild and take a team, get new freshmen year over year, watch them progress, contend, they leave, I get new players, I switch schools, and then it doesn't have to take 6 weeks to do this. It could be in 1 2-hour sitting. Add simulation to College Retro Bowl. The customization stuff I mentioned for regular Retro Bowl, add that over there as well. Maybe add more faces. Since the faces are really not that hard to create, you could just mix and match. I see that's what they do. A lot of faces are very similar. They just change the hair, change the eyebrows. Let us feel like you actually are adding more customization to the game. Add more dilemmas, especially since it's college. You can have so many crazy ones. I mean, there's literally crazy ones I've already seen. Make them wild, make them fun. This update, if you want my grade for the College Retro Bowl update, it's a 3 out of 10. It's slightly better than the Retro Bowl update, but it's not good. I mean, I like the field thing. Is that a feature, or is that something that they maybe should have just had in the game already? Maybe they should have thought about the fact that college is not the same as pro football. Overall, I mean, it's kind of disheartening. It's kind of frustrating. You know, I see that they have an update. I get excited. And then this is what it is. It's not a matter of me wanting certain things before I play the game. It's me saying, if you add these things, I'll enjoy the game and I'll want to play. Because to be honest with you, the reason I post Hoopland content and I don't post Retro Bowl content anymore is not because these things have to be in the game. It's because these things seem tangible that if they were added, I would want to play the game. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to make videos on things I want to, because this is what it is. It's all for fun. So anyway, Retro Bowl update, Retro Bowl College update. Very underwhelming. I'm going to be making more content. If you guys enjoy my videos or you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy.